We are in chapter 10 now. This chapter is all about radicals, which are what we're mostly going to be talking about is just square roots. It says we're going to simplify radical expressions by using product properties and quotient properties of square roots. So example 1 asks you to simplify the square root of 80. So some of you would take a calculator and say the square root of 80 is 8.9442791, and it cuts it off right there. There's actually more to that number. So when you round it, that's truly not the square root of 80. So if we want to simplify the square root of 80 as much as possible, we need to reduce it without rounding it. So 80, okay, you might have done this in middle school. We have a factor tree. We know 80 is 8 and 10. We know 8 is 4 and 2. We know 10 is 2 and 5. We know 4 is 2 and 2. I'm making a prime factorization. So these are prime numbers. Prime numbers only contain factors, 1 and itself. So we're going to put this into prime factorization to begin with. And we see that the square root of 80 is the same thing as the square root of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Okay. Well, there is a rule in math where if you have the square root of a number and a square root of that same number, it just equals the number of what's underneath the radical, as long as that number is greater than 0. So for instance, if I have the square root of 5 and I multiply it by the square root of 5, my answer is simply 5. So this is the same thing as saying the square root of 25. Yeah, that'd be 5. We're just breaking it apart. So once we see a pair, we just take one number out. So here, this is the same thing as saying the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 2, square root of 5. So when we see a pair, we're going to write 2 because that's really the square root of 4, which is just 2. 2. And we're left with 5. So this is equivalent or equal to 4 root 5. Let's see. We said the square root of 80 was about 8.9442791. So if I type 4 square root 5, I'm supposed to get the same thing. I did. We want the same thing. We're just simplifying it as much as we can. Okay, we can't imagine the square root of 80 over our head. We don't know how big that is, but we can imagine how big 4 square root 5 is. Okay, yeah, it's about 8. Okay, you try. So go ahead, pause the video, and you try this one on your own. Another way I tell kids is there's little kids in the house, 3, 3, 3, and 2, and they want to go outside and play, and their mom says, nope, you have to partner. You have to have a partner if you want to go outside and play. So these two are going to go outside and play, and then 3 and 2 are stuck inside. So your answer is 3 root 6. Beauty of math is you can check your work. Square root of 54, 7.3484692228, 3 root 6, 7.3484692228. Yep. So this is your answer. All right, example 2 says multiplying square roots. Well, what if I have the square root of 2 times the square root of 14? They're both underneath the radical, so it's just the square root of 28. I could put them together, but I know that I'm also going to break them down. So I could have just gone like this and said, well, it's the square root of 2 times 14. I want to reduce it, so I'm going to keep breaking it down. Well, the square root of 2 is just 2. 14 is 2 and 7. Do we have any pairs? Yes. Grab a pair, take it out. Okay. And lastly, square root of 5 and square root of 10. Well, we can make that 50, but I know we're just going to break it apart, so I'm going to leave it broken apart. 5 is just 5 and 1, and 10 is 5 and 2. We have a pair, bring it out, 5 root 2. So it's the same thing. If it's a radical, it goes underneath. Example 3, what if we have letters? Same thing. Well, we know 90 is 9 and 10. 9 is 3 and 3 and 2 and 5. So we can say 5, 2, 3, and a 3. How many X's are here? 3. How many Y's are here? 4 Y's. How many Z's are here? 5. These are the same thing. If we have a pair, we can remove it. So I have a 3. I have an X. I have a Y. I have another Y. I have a Z. And I have another Z. I am left with 5, a 2, an X, and a Z. When I simplify this, it's going to be 3x y squared z squared. And inside, it's going to clean up to be 10xz. That's your answer. They're the same thing. All right, pause the video and you try on your own. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then here, we have a 2 and a t inside. When you clean it up, 4rk squared t squared. That's it. All right. On the back, there's a video in the Google Classroom, the second video, that you need to fill out these 3 to try on your own. The video goes over them. Okay. If you want, submit this, and I'll give you 3 extra credit points. Okay. But it goes with that second video. It's great. I recommend watching it. After that, complete your Delta Math assignment.